don't even know where to begin. Don't even know where to begin on the big tech tyranny. Woo! That's the rave these days. Big tech. What even the fuck is big tech? What in the blue hell is big tech? What is it? It's just this package deal full of companies that happen to be involved in technology? I mean, is it just the social media companies? Like Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat? And Google? Is Google a social media company? I know they had Google Plus. YouTube is more of a streaming service, but they have community features that one could argue makes it somewhat of a social media company. What about Twitch, which I'm streaming on right now, owned by Amazon? I mean, you guys can chat and whatnot. It's more video streaming. What up, Carmason? What is big? I think the rideshare companies are considered part of big tech. Oh no, how about going back to social media? What about MySpace? What about MySpace? In fact, I know Scott Lincecum today tweeted out an article from 2007. A lot of you kids, younger people, maybe under 25, guys might not remember, there was this social media company called MySpace, and they dominated social media. And so much so, in fact, that in 2007, people were writing articles about whether or not MySpace was a monopoly. Woo! In the article that Scott Lincecum tweeted out, who's an economist that I follow, it asked if Facebook, I think Facebook and Twitter, it asked, can they stand up to MySpace monopoly? This was 2007. There was once upon a time when Facebook and Twitter were considered underdogs. In fact, you guys, all this talk about social media censorship and fairness. Another thing some of you people might be forgetting or might not know. Facebook used to be very discriminatory. Facebook started out as a social media platform exclusively for college students. Did you guys know that? I got on Facebook back in 2005, and I remember everyone who I went to college with, everyone thought it was so cool. It wasn't lame like MySpace. Everyone and their grandma can get on MySpace. Ugh. All the cool kids were on Facebook, and I remember when Facebook started letting non-college students on, high school students, or just people out of school in general, when they started letting more people outside of college onto Facebook, a lot of the people on Facebook, they were mad. They're like, what, wait a minute, what? You're just gonna let everyone in? I don't want my mom and my uncle and my boss seeing the cakes, the pictures of the cake stands I did 3 weeks ago at a tailgate. Ugh. Imagine if Facebook went back to that. Imagine if monopolist Mark Zuckerberg said, you know what, we're going to go back to our roots. Unless you have a .edu email address, you ain't getting on Facebook. Imagine how much shrieking we would see from goons like Missouri Mussolini, Josh Hawley, and the alleged pro-capitalist Republicans in Congress who are just foaming at the mouth to regulate Facebook. But okay, so big tech. Is it just the social media companies? Does it include Tesla? Tesla Motors? Does it include Uber and Lyft, the rideshare companies? Does it include Spotify and Pandora, which are Music streaming apps. Does it include Nintendo? Uh-oh. Get the POW. Oh my god, these guys are terrifying. Oh, it didn't get... Ah! Oh, how did they kill me? That's bullshit. Does it include Nintendo? Does it include, Waze? The GPS app? Does it include Realtor.com? Does it include the apps that allow you to search for homes? Oh, okay. I didn't know I could speed up. That's the secret. Does it include Netflix? Where do we draw the line on big tech? Is this not a ridiculous package deal or what? Big tech. Big tech. As I pointed out yesterday, here in the great state of California, we got Democrat politicians crusading against big tech with their attempts to regulate Uber and Lyft, with their attempts to, their contempt for people like Elon Musk. And Tesla Motors. Meanwhile, congressional Republicans all over the place, they're foaming at the mouth to regulate Twitter. I mean, remember the TikTok controversy? But that was China. That was mainly China. TikTok was from China. But now, they're going after Twitter and Facebook and Google and Apple. Forgot about Apple and Microsoft in this whole big tech discussion. Are they part of big tech? Linux? What about Linux? What about Netscape? Is that why they hate, what's his face? McAfee? Jim McAfee, the libertarian candidate for president who runs every 4 years, who's on the run from the government. Is he part of big tech? Is that why they hate him? Amazon, who could forget? Jeff Bezos, Amazon. Are they part of big tech? Then we got these goofs like Josh Hawley, you know, talking about, oh, Facebook's a monopoly. And he tweets this. He put this on Twitter. And everyone, a lot of people pointed this out like, you know how ridiculous you sound when you say that this is, you know, Facebook's a monopoly, and you're sharing this message on their competitor. Not to mention other social media companies like, again, MySpace still exists. Like Snapchat, TikTok, which I believe got bought by Oracle. Uh-oh. Suicide bomb. Oh, is that a... Whoops. But they're all big, scary monopolies. I noticed in this crusade against big tech, a lot of these Republicans, they turn into pivoting Patricks when talking about this issue. Because at first it was all about, you know, censorship. It's all about censorship and free speech. And then you explain to them, well, nothing in the First Amendment guarantees you a right to deliver messages. Doesn't guarantee that you have a right to someone's means of delivering messages and amplifying your speech. And once you point that out, then they say, oh, it's antitrust, it's monopolies. Blah, 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 blah. Well, there are plenty of competitors in this space, and even if there wasn't any competitors, I don't know if this needs to be explained, but you don't have a right to goods and services. You don't have a right to other people's goods and services and other people's property. Even in the absence of competition, property rights are always the standard. And now, if you want to argue otherwise, then you might as well join the goofs over at Democratic Socialists of America, because they'll like to talk all day about what property you have a right to, whose property you have a right to. Like, oh yeah, sure, everyone has a right to health care and a hospital bed and a car and a house, a vacation house, clothes. Everyone has a right to clothes. Everyone has a right to clean water, electricity. Especially, talking about, Twitter. Twitter, which has existed for not even 15 years. Facebook has existed for maybe 20 years. I think 19 years at this point. Products and services that didn't exist 20 fucking years ago. Suddenly, conservatives turn into Bolshevik Bernie Sanders. Talking about how everyone has a right to it. But even then, there are no monopolies. They use monopolies in the plural like a bunch of goofs. Plenty of competition in social media. And now that, going back to pivoting Patrick's, now they're saying, because they Twitter and Facebook blocked the New York Post story the other day about Hunter Biden, which even then, I guess that story, I haven't really read much into it, but apparently there's a lot of questions about that story. Jury's out about some of those details, apparently. But now they're calling it election interference. Election interference, you guys. They're interfering in our election. Josh Hawley today said big tech is a threat to democracy. Now he's sounding like all these goofs from the Young Turks. The way they talk about the Koch brothers and oil and Wall Street. They're all a threat to our democracy ever since Citizens United. Oh, it's free speech, First Amendment. They say, as Dennis Prager said when he took Google to the Senate to get harassed. Oh, they're silencing my video about the 10 Commandments. You know what? They didn't even silence it. They just put an age restriction on it. A video about the 10 Commandments. And Prager wants the Congress, apparently, to force Google to deliver a religious message. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like a violation of First Amendment rights, forcing people to carry a religious message that they may or may not agree with. Thankfully, that Prager got laughed out of court. That dumb lawsuit got tossed. So now we got Democrats and Republicans waging war against big tech, just focusing on different targets, essentially. Republicans, after, talking, occasionally paying lip service to capitalism and free markets. Even Charlie Kirk, head of Turning Point USA, that claims to stand for free markets and capitalism. Even he was siding with Josh Hawley on this stuff. It makes it even worse when you consider that Republicans do jack shit to free up the economy, to create more competition. Right? Like, what have they done to, really create more competition? What did they repeal net neutrality? Is that what they did? Remember net neutrality, you guys? Remember when everyone was freaking out about the repeal of net neutrality and how we needed net neutrality regulation? So that internet service providers wouldn't silence certain websites. They didn't want internet service providers having too much control. By throttling internet speeds and maybe preventing you from seeing certain websites. Is that really much different than what Republicans are calling for with the big tech regulation, the social media regulation? Because, hey, they might decide who gets to be on their platforms or publishers, whatever the fuck they're saying. That's another pivot, 2:30. I'll get to that in a second. Oh, it's either a publisher or a platform. It can only be one or the other. Get the fuck out of here, you dumbass. But yeah, net neutrality. What's the difference between the net neutrality knuckleheads and these conservatives who are foaming at the mouth to regulate and destroy big tech? Michael Knowles at Daily Wire said big tech should be destroyed. What's the difference between them other than their targets? Conservatives want to regulate social media, and liberals want to regulate ISPs for the same reason. Same reason, different targets. But on top of that, do Republicans ever do anything to free up the economy to create more competition? Whoops, forgot to get all the coins. You know, some of the most controlled, heavily regulated industries in America where there's a lack of competition, like pharmaceuticals. Republicans aren't doing much to deregulate pharmaceuticals. Not doing much to deregulate the healthcare and health insurance industries. Didn't repeal Obamacare, and even worse, their president, their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, is now openly embracing one of the core tenets of Obamacare, which is the protection of pre-existing conditions. They never deregulate or free up banking and finance. And especially when you consider their war, their crusade against immigration and international trade. You know, because they say, oh, well, we need to regulate monopolies because without antitrust, we might get some big scary monopolies that discourage innovation. That discourage innovation and jack up prices. Oh, really? Well, how about some more competition in labor, huh? How about we open up immigration so that we get some more competition and innovation in labor because immigrants are some of the most innovative people in America. How about we open up international... Oh, what's that? We're gonna reduce immigration, including legal immigration. We're gonna reduce international trade with tariffs. Oh, well, it's just to screw over China. It's just to punish China. Okay, why are we putting tariffs on EU products and Canadian products and Brazilian products and Australian products? Why did we withdraw from the TPP even though China was not part of it? International trade, more competition. Oh, what? We can only have competition from companies that happen to exist on this big patch of dirt we call America? Can't get competition from the EU or Canada or South America or Africa or Australia? Or Mexico? International trade, it results in more competition, lower prices, cheaper goods, more innovation. Wouldn't be playing this Nintendo. This is one of the classic examples I go to. I wouldn't be playing this if it weren't for international trade and competition. Fuck, the video game industry crashed, and international companies like Nintendo saved it. So they never free up the economy to create more competition. And then on top of that, they crusade against some of the most innovative and successful companies that provide us with a free means of streaming videos, delivering software, delivering information. I mean, what really is the difference between Democrats and Republicans at this point? Republicans are basically Democrats with their cringe-ass religious baggage, and who the fuck wants that? Don't forget oh yeah, I forgot about Craigslist. They're part of big tech. Got on Facebook in 2004. It was cool at first, then they ruined it. Yeah, TripAdvisor, Airbnb, HBO, WWE. They're on streaming now. Forgot all about Airbnb. Thank you, Wagner. That's another big tech company. Section 230. Section 230 wasn't set up to create this publisher platform dichotomy. It was set up to give internet companies immunity, to give them immunity, legal protection from people who would try to sue them for people who use their products to cause harm. And I saw Dana Lash, the former NRA spokeswoman, who I like, despite some disagreements I may have with her. She brought this up, 230. What about my 230? And I'm like, well, haven't you argued against people trying to, Democrats who've tried to make it easier to sue gun manufacturers? Because that's an ongoing, I think that's an issue in New York State, if I'm recalling correctly. They're trying to make it easy for people to sue gun manufacturers for people who use their products to inflict damage, to cause harm, which is absolutely ridiculous. So why is it not okay to sue gun manufacturers, but it suddenly becomes okay to sue Twitter and Facebook for people who use their products to spread disinformation, to lie about people, for libel and defamation and all that stuff, for threats? The whole issue around 230, completely dishonest. That's another issue where they like to pivot when you try to argue against using government to seize the big tech's means of production. What about my 230? And going back to that New York Post story that was being banned from Twitter, do I think Twitter should have done that? No. Do I think Facebook should have done it? No. But especially when you consider that that story probably ended up being talked about on every conservative podcast, every red-pilled YouTube show throughout the day. It was talked about on Fox News. I know it was talked about on Tucker Carlson. It's not like there was and not to mention, you could still go, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you have a web browser and internet access, what you can do is you can go to, you can type in www.newyorkpost.com, and you can read all their stories. Did you guys know that? The internet has become so wonderful that people are becoming lazy, too lazy to type in URL addresses. And for that reason, what? We got to we got to seize big tech's property. We got to seize Twitter's property. The point I'm trying to make is, I know Twitter and Facebook can maybe slow down the spread of a news article by prohibiting it, but to conflate it with censorship, to conflate it with speech controls, I think Paul Joseph Watson and others were saying, oh, this is it's big tech tyranny. It's like to compare it to the tyranny of Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union is just insane. Anyway, to wrap up my rant about big tech tyranny, I know I've talked about this a lot over the years in multiple videos, mentioning it in multiple videos, even discussing other topics. But I think this is an important issue, especially considering the long-term consequences of Republicans and conservatives, the traditional pretenders of capitalism, increasingly embracing the left's position on economics.